Very good morning. So welcome to second part of our receptors. Today we'll be talking about say the next stage of receptor, plus we'll be talking about that where exactly they are present in the entire body. So this will give us a very good picture about say when say for example adrenergic system is stimulated, why it happens that something some things are inhibited, some things are stimulated. Then we'll talk about few drugs and we'll also talk about more receptors, right? So let's start, and thank you so much for your emails, right? It's like I'm so thankful for the honor which you have given to me. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's start with where we left yesterday. Okay. So we talked about that these are the receptors, and these receptors they make some changes, some biological changes into the cell. Okay. Biological changes in the cell. And we talked about four types of receptors yesterday. We talked about cholinergic, right? Cholinergic, in which it was the it was the acetylcholine, right? Acetylcholine which was responsible. Acetylcholine, that means this is about parasympathetic. When we say parasympathetic, that means in one word we say rest and digest. You have sent email. When was it sent? Parasympathetic. That is rest and digest. Rest and digest. By the way, yesterday's match was awesome, right? Argentina showed who is the boss. That Lionel Messi, that solo run, that was so good, right? And and then that second goal. Okay, so so yeah, we wait for our second match. See, the fun part is when India is not playing, means you are happy for any team. You know? Okay, so so these were the parasympathetic cholinergic receptors, and then there were adrenergic receptors, right? It is this adrenergic receptors. In adrenergic receptors, we remember them like QISSS, right? And this was like beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. And these were like alpha 1 and alpha 2. This I is inhibitory, right? Inhibitory. S, they are like stimulatory. But what exactly is the mystery behind it? And then this Q part, I said that, okay, hang on, right? Achha, after 11 p.m., then I must have missed it, right? Yeah, and that pass was also so good. Because Croatia's goalkeeper, so something extraordinary was needed to get past the ball through him. And yeah, France. Yesterday, see those expert comments when they were discussing. So they said, okay, will Morocco be able to fight France? So they said, okay, no, there are very less chances that Morocco will be able to even fight, right? So it's like people have already say taken it for granted that it will be between Argentina and France. So don't ask me, because if I'll say France, then who knows, right? It would be like Portugal and Brazil, because I was very confident, right? Okay, yes, Brazil, yes, Portugal. So no comments. Okay, so this is the part, right, where that stimulatory and inhibitory effects, right? This is something which we have which we put yesterday on halt. So we'll start from here. Yesterday we also talked about say cholinergic, adrenergic, and then dopaminergic, right, and purinergic. So we'll extend this list also today. So let's start with focusing on what now we are talking about is alpha 1, right, adrenergic. And this alpha 1 adrenergic is when we say GQ, right? What exactly is this GQ? Or we write it something like GQ, right? This will be more appropriate. So let's write it over there. Start. Let's start. Same way. And that's our cell wall, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And here is where the ligand would come, right? That ligand would come. Adrenergic, so let's say ligand is epinephrine. So it means this epinephrine, it can act on all alpha 1, it can act on alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. Yes, it will act on all of them, but the effect would be different, right? So here, because of yesterday's story, things will be much easier to understand today. And say this is our 7-pass receptor, and this is basically GPCR, right? In general, it is GPCR, G protein coupled receptor. Which type of G? That's a different story, right? But otherwise, all of them, they are, say, GPCR. Now here, what it will do, like yesterday, right? Like yesterday, as the message comes, okay, come on, this is the stage of excitation. As it is excited, right? Immediately, resting phase was GDP, right? So that was the resting phase where the GDP was connected to this alpha, beta, and the gamma, and they are connected, and this was how the GDP was connected, right? For the sake of simplicity, we are writing alpha q because now we are dealing with the GQ. What it will be doing the moment it is excited, right? Same thing GTP, right? This GTP comes into picture. This alpha q tells ke chalo, let's go for a business, and it will say okay, beta q and the gamma q, right? You remain in the gaon, right? And we move on to the share for doing the business. So this entire complex moves to for the business. Now over here, it will be coming in contact with, say, phospholipase C, right? Phospholipase C. So when this thing, right, again, same style, it will take away the that phosphate, and it will act on cell membrane. Now starts the real fun. This is acting on cell membrane, right? And the protein which is formed, it is called as the PIP2. PIP2 protein, right? PIP2 protein. This PIP2 protein is phosphatidyl, right? It is phosphatidyl, right? So this is first P. Inositol, and this is 2. So it is biphosphate. So the position is 4, 5. These are the positions, right? Biphosphate. So it is phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate. Now this protein, it gives rise to 2 more. One, IP3, right? IP3 is, I is same name, inositol, and this is P3, so it is triphosphate. See, both these proteins, they will be having different function, right? Then the second is called as the DAG, right? It is diacetyl glycerol. This is diacetyl glycerol. So it is it is I think I made a mistake. It is diacetyl. I think it is diacetyl. Just correct me if I'm wrong, right? It is diacetyl, but still, right? I'll just confirm it. Right? but most probably it is diacylglycerol. Anyway, so DAG and IP3, right? This IP3 will act on, now this is very important, what it will do, that this IP3 will act on pumps of endoplasmic reticulum, right? Endoplasmic reticulum. It will act on it. Now, when it is acting on endoplasmic reticulum, we know that endoplasmic reticulum is what? It is storehouse. It is storehouse of calcium, calcium ions, right? Harshad Bharti and Gunda. So it is storehouse of calcium, right? So now those calcium channels on ER, this endoplasmic reticulum opens because of the presence of inositol triphosphate. So these ER channel open, so calcium ion moves from endoplasmic reticulum, comes out, and now it is into cytoplasm, right? Very nice. It comes into cytoplasm. Now in cytoplasm it binds to a protein, right? This calcium, right, it binds to a protein called calmodulin, right? Calcium modulin. And this protein is activated. So previously without calcium it was over there, but it was not activated. Now due to calcium it is activated. When it is activated, it would stimulate one enzyme. It would stimulate one enzyme. And that enzyme is CAM kinase, right? It is CAM kinase. All such enzymes, they are super powerful, because see, this particular enzyme, it can, this CAM kinase, the moment it is there, right, what it can do, say, phosphorylation, right? And now you know that when the phosphorylation, if someone can do, he can give those phosphates and then it becomes active, right? It can, and that thing can affect the metabolism, right? It can affect, it will affect calcium ion channels, and we'll see that when the calcium ion channels are affected, when the calciums they are say released, so it will lead to contraction and it lead to so many interesting changes in the cell. That is what we shall be learning tomorrow when we'll be talking about all those pumps, right? And obviously, say there would be genome changes, right, when it goes to the nucleus. So genome changes, say all these changes, right, they all are because of the enzyme. Same thing was happening even previously also, right? That is in case of that GI and GS, but the path was different. Final output is same, final outcome is same. Now see what happens when it comes to metabolism, how it's affect. See, if the metabolism is increased, right, when the metabolism is increased, that means what? Heart rate increases, right? And say respiratory rate increases, and the body goes into the state of alert mode, right? Body becomes alert. So that's what, say, all of them they are doing, right? Acha. Regarding this diacylglycerol, this will lead to, over there the our enzyme was protein kinase A, right? Over here this one is protein kinase C. So I remembered it like the C and Q, right? They both are quite similar, right? Nazdik. So that's how I remember. Protein kinase C is released. Yeah. Uh, digestion is different. Digestion is different. Increase in metabolism is the process of consumption of energy, right? It is, think it like metabolism is like when you are driving a car, you have put your foot on accelerator, So if the car engine is tuned at a higher level, even when the car is standing still, right, it is making more sound, right? That is the minimum consumption, what it will be doing even when the car is not moving. Metabolism is exactly like that, right? Digestion is generation of the energy, right? So actually when the sympathetic system, they fire, right, you will see that why digestive system takes rest, right? You will automatically get the answer. So here it is protein kinase C, right? Protein kinase C. And this protein kinase C, yes, as we know, it will be affecting the metabolism. It increases the metabolism. Then all those genomic expression when it goes into the nucleus, so genomic expression, that all remains same, right? All those, they remain the same. And this will make some changes in the ion channels, and those ion channels will be needed, right? Those ion channels, right? Those ion channels will be needed for various vital functions. So the idea is whether it is say GQ or GS or GI, they are releasing all these enzymes which will be taking part into these vital functions, right? Now comes the real fun, and that is what exactly is the mystery when we are talking about that adrenergic receptors, right? Adrenergic receptors, and we say that we divide it like this, right? And we say that this is GQ, this one is GI, and this is GS, this is GS, this is GS, this one is alpha 1, this one is alpha 2, this one is beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. Actually speaking, if we just see this much, this is sheer theory and it doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. How to effective manage pathology for if good. Sure, we'll talk about it. Yeah, Anand. Just remind me at the end of today's session, right? Just without fail, remind me. We'll talk about it. So this is all stimulatory. This is all stimulatory, and yes, this is inhibitory, and this GQ is what GQ does. Let's see. This will make sense when we figure out that where exactly these receptors are present. So now starts that part. Let's start with alpha, right? For the alpha adrenergic receptors, right? You are with me? Correct. We divide it into two parts. Yes, that is alpha 1. Alpha 1, which is handled by this GQ mechanism. Perfect. And GQ mechanism, that means it would be PIP3, right? PIP2, right? It will be PIP2 and then that ionocetyl triphosphate and the DAG. That's how it will be handling, right? PIP2, IP3, DAG, and it will handle. Okay. So that is our GQ. What about alpha 2? Alpha 2 QI. So this is inhibitory. This is inhibitory. Still, that's okay. But now we start picking up. These receptors, alpha 1 receptors, they are into vascular smooth muscles. Now I'll be asking you several questions, right? Several questions, but at the end, you will be crystal clear about how this adrenergic system they work. Vascular smooth muscle, vascular smooth muscle. So when alpha 1 receptors are stimulated, when the alpha 1 receptors are stimulated, it will lead to contraction of these vascular smooth muscles. Perfect, right? It will lead to contraction of vascular smooth muscles. Contraction, right? So this GQ is as such the stimulatory, you know? It is stimulatory. So it will lead to vascular smooth muscles. When it is leading to constriction of vascular smooth muscles, what would happen? What would happen to vessels? Vessels will go for vasoconstriction. Okay. Vasoconstriction. What does that mean? That means that this particular vessel which was relaxed, but now it was having this much bore, and but now this is contracted. These muscles, they contracted, so they will actually make this bore small, right? Vasoconstrictions, those vascular smooth muscles. Okay. How about iris, right? Exactly. Very good. Right. I was upon BP would increase. Very right. This will lead to increase in the blood pressure. Acha. Then the iris, right? In the iris, those muscles, they are arranged like this, right? Those muscles, they are arranged like this. So it's very interesting. When the muscles contract, right? So when the muscle would contract, this would be new position when they contract, right? So when they contract, so they will go like this, right? Because these muscles have contracted and that has left a bigger space over here. So this is like dilated pupil, right? See, muscles are contracting in both the cases, but here it is dilated. Pupil is dilated pupil, right? Because iris muscles, when they contract, so that muscle is this much. When contracted, it becomes chota, right? So this is how it contracts and pupil becomes bigger. This is what is also called as the mydriasis, right? Just remember the word mydriasis. Mydriasis. So far, things are good because we said that it is for fight, flight, or fight response. So kahan se bhagna hai, right? So we make bigger, badi aankh. Okay. Now, contract towards wall. Perfect. Very good. I'll write it. Right? It is good one. Contract towards wall. Good one, Dikit. Go towards wall. Shabash. The next one. The next one, when the fight is going on, right? We just can't say कि यार जरा वॉशरूम होके आता हूँ फिर मारता हूँ तुझे, है ना? Can't do that. So it is very much necessary that internal sphincter, internal urinary sphincter is to be closed. So that means these receptors, they are present into internal urinary sphincter. So it will say contract, thak, urinary sphincter closed. When the urinary sphincter is closed, so that urge for urination, that stops temporarily, right? Then the call is placed to liver कि big boss, लड़ना है, right? We need something. Males have two sphincters, that's right, but it is this internal urinary sphincter, right? Male, female, both have got that sphincter. So when that is locked, so baat hi khatam. Then a call goes to liver. The boss, give the glucose. So he'll say, okay, theek hai, I'll make the glucose for you, and that is what is called as the, say, yeah, it means a contraction will lead to decrease and as well as increase in the diameter. It just depends upon type of muscle. Very right, very right. You are totally right, right? What you said is absolutely true. Muscle is contracting, right? But over here, as DK very truly said, that this is the contraction towards wall. So contraction towards wall. So that pupil, the final result was pupil got dilated. है ना? When it was urinary sphincter, so those muscles, so they contracted, so it led to that closure of the internal urinary sphincter, right? Yes, exactly. So for liver, right, a call goes that we need more glucose, so it will lead to glycogenolysis, right? Glycogenolysis. It will say, okay, chalo, let's break this glycogen and release the glucose, right? Everyone would need glucose to fight. So that is done. And kidneys, right? Kidneys are said कि अभी काम बंद करो, right? They, and it would inhibit renin release. This will be discussing in more detail when we'll be talking about renin-angiotensin system, right? What really happens to that system. But the idea is that this GQ wala receptor is present at these locations. ठीक? All these vascular smooth muscles, iris, internal urinary sphincter, liver, and the kidney. Now see what happens to this GI. This is inhibitor, right? This is inhibitor. Wherever it is present, right? It will say, "Arey, mat kaam karo. Don't do the work," right? So, so when the renin is inhibited, yes, the decreased production of urine, plus it will be taking part into the blood pressures also, renin angiotensin system, right? So this GI is inhibitory. This inhibitory would say, yes, RAS mechanism. This inhibitory mechanism would say, don't work, right? So where are they? See, it is in pancreas. It is in pancreas. In pancreas, islet of Langerhans, right? Beta cells of islet of Langerhans. These are the specific cells whose work is to produce insulin, right? So when this is inhibited, because it is GI himself is inhibitory, when it is inhibited, it will say, okay, don't produce the insulin, drop the insulin, right? And now body is happy. Yeah, but then the insulin is decreased, so that means glucose will stay in blood, right? So wonderful. Otherwise, what insulin would do, insulin will catch the glucose and put it into liver, right? Now the insulin is not working, is less, right? It has been stopped, and because it is produced by pancreas. So one stimulation, right? Epinephrine is acting on alpha 1, epinephrine is acting on alpha 2. Alpha 1 is going to the liver ke chalo chalo increase the glucose level, and it will say कि वो pancreas ने, if he is sending insulin, so then I can't do much. So he'll say कि okay, I'm sending a call to alpha 2. Alpha 2 tell pancreas not to work, and the insulin is decreased, so now that glucose will stay. How wonderful the mechanism is, right? Still great things, they are yet to come. We move on to beta, right? Now see what beta does. That is still more fascinating. These beta receptors, beta adrenergic receptors, and what we said is beta 1, beta 2, and beta 3, right? Beta 1, beta 2, and beta 3. Beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. Beta 1 classically present in heart, right? And remember, all of them, they are GS, GS, GS. They are all stimulatory, right? So they are going to stimulate. Stimulate means they will contract, right? Improve the contraction, right? Powerful contraction. Makes complete sense, because when it is in heart and it is stimulatory, so it will say, chalo heart, contract, thak, right? It will say, increase contractility, contract with power, right? It means when we don't need glucose, it's stored in liver, and when it is need, it breaks down from liver. Absolutely. That's what really happens during our entire day. Say, if you check that whenever the glucose is to be tested, it is tested in two ways: fasting and PPBS, postprandial blood sugar. Postprandial blood sugar means after the food, after food, 2 hours after the food. That's not normally it is checked. Fasting is fasting, right? In the morning it is checked. When we eat, glucose level starts rising, but beyond certain level, that insulin would come in कि ये glucose, why you are moving in blood, चलो, right? भागो वापस liver में चले जाओ, right? They are pushed into the liver, so liver would store. And when you don't keep on eating for the whole day, right? At some point when there is hypoglycemic crash, and so at that point, this liver will release this glucose, and it would continue. So that's where there'll be variation. The normal variation is ppbs is 120 and fasting should be 80, right? So this is how it keeps on varying between this range. When it rises, so that means insulin is not capable. Insulin is not capable. Either there is not sufficient amount of insulin, which can really tell कि चल glucose वापस liver में भागो, right? Or these are such persons, right? Means these glucose molecules they become such like such persons कि आप उनको कितनी बार भी समझाओ कितनी बार भी बोलो they will never understand. This is so this insulin बिचारा it keeps on telling कि boss don't stay in blood because you will be increasing the chances of infection, you will be increasing the chances of neuropathy, right? Because food it is over there and this glucose which is circulating into the body, it is like a picnic for bacteria so that there can be spread of infection. So please go back. सुनते ही नहीं है, right? They won't listen at all. This is what is called as the insulin decrease, means insulin sensitivity when it is affected, right? So this is the thing, right? When in spite of the presence of insulin, these are not sensitive to it, right? So it's the word which is used is insulin resistance, right? It is when the insulin sensitivity is affected, it is called as insulin resistance. So in spite of the presence of insulin, they don't go, right? Yes, there is like entire universe inside the body, right? So this is how it really works. And this diabetes, that is the fascinating subject. Okay, so coming back to our heart, right? So heart increase contractility, then not only the muscles are told, even the AV node, right? AV node, that so it would increase the heart rate. It will tell that heart contract fast, right? Contract fast and contract with more power. Both the things are to be done, right? Both the things are to be done. Increase contractility and increase heart rate. Increase AV node conduction. All these things they are happening. Then in kidneys there are some cells, they are called as the JG cells, juxtaglomerular cells. These juxtaglomerular cells which are present in kidney, they increase blood pressure, right? They increase the blood pressure. Now see this beta 2, they are present in lungs. They are present in lungs. So here it will affect bronchial smooth muscles, right? It will affect bronchial smooth muscles and they contract in such a way that it will lead to bronchodilation. They dilate, right? Similarly, smooth muscles, right? Smooth muscles of those arteries, right? They will be affected. Similarly, smooth muscles of digestive system, right? Of GIT. But these smooth muscles of GIT, right? They will be GIT, uterus, right? They will be relaxed. They are affected in such a way that they will be relaxed. So a person can breathe, more air will go, right? Bronchi dilate. When the bronchi dilate, so obviously, right, they'll be able to breathe more. And affecting the pancreas, affecting the pancreas. And in pancreas, say these beta 2, right? See what beta 2 is doing. When the beta 2, right, it is leading to bronchodilation, right? Bronchodilation, smooth muscles of arteries, they are affected. So that would lead to vasodilation. Vasodilation. See, when smooth muscles of GIT, uterus, so they are relaxed, right? Pancreas over here, it will lead to increased insulin, right? But this is the specialty of beta 2. Beta 2. Now in beta 3, this will act on adipose tissue, fat cells, adipose tissue. Yes, oxygen will increase, adipose tissue. Okay? So there would be increased lipolysis, right? Breakdown of fat. Okay? And this beta 3 is also present in, it is also present in urinary bladder. It is present in urinary bladder. What it is doing in urinary bladder? In urinary bladder, the muscles of urinary bladder, they are called as the dextrusor muscles. Dextrusor. And these dextrusor muscles, they are relaxed. So now things are good, because when the bladder is relaxed, so it means it has got more capacity to hold urine. Sphincter is constricted, so that urge to go to washroom, that goes away, right? So this is how they really work, all of them, right? In tune with each other. That is what is needed, and that's how it really works. Now let's see some of the examples. So this would be more or less like pharmacology, right? This will be like pharmacology. When we say alpha 1 receptors blockers, right? So alpha 1, right? Alpha 1. So we see that alpha 1 vascular smooth muscles, it leads to vasoconstriction, red pupils dilated, internal urinary sphincter. This is where it is working, right? So there would be few medicines, which will be, say when we say alpha 1 receptor blocker, right? Say for example phentolamine, right? Phentolamine. Now this is not only alpha 1 blocker, it is alpha 1 plus alpha 2 blocker. Alpha 1 and alpha 2 both are blocked. So over here we'll understand that it is not affecting only the vascular system, iris, urinary sphincter, but it is affecting the pancreas also. It is affecting the pancreas, right? So that's the whole purpose, that it is affecting both of them. But sometimes you don't want to disturb pancreas, right? Because this is when the pancreas is getting affected. You want that, we want to deal with alpha 1 only. So for that, when we say the medicine like, let's say prazosin, this will be working on alpha 1 only. So thus pancreas is spared. So there won't be any effect. So these are the super selective drugs, right? Yeah, they are antagonist, but now they are antagonists in the form of specific alpha 1 only, right? So prazosin, terazosin, right? All those are, right? Same family, terazosin. So they are alpha 1 only alpha. Similarly, let's say, is there anything like alpha 2 receptor blocker? Yes, a medicine called yohimbine, right? It's yohimbine. This is the medicine which will be affecting only on, say, alpha 2 receptors. So that's why, right, it's, there are so many, means it improves the athletic performance. It's the athletic performance, right? Then say it would increase blood pressure, right? So that's how they really work. Now see, they are not say affecting on the heart or lungs, right? We call them beta blocker. See, what are they doing, beta blockers? So here, when the heart is tired, right? When the heart is tired, the situation is like that person is going under the heart attack, right? His heart is crying, okay, I just can't beat, right? There is so less of the blood, I'll die. And still, the brain tells, okay, come on, you beat, right? Because body is requiring blood. So this is exactly like थके हुए घोड़े को चाबुक मारना, right? Kicking the tired horse, and that horse would collapse. So these beta, so they are done, right? See the heart पे जाके चल, contract fast, increase the heart rate, conduction fast, everything should go good, right? Come on, bronchus, you dilate and let the oxygen go. But bichara heart is in now trouble. So this is where you'll be using beta blockers. Beta blockers. Beta blockers, right? So all beta blockers, standard. They will be, their names will be ending with LOL, right? Lots of laughter, nahi, right? But it is, that's how the name are, right? It is OLOL. So propranolol, right? Then acetobutol. Beta is just like Hitler, right? Then say etinolol, right? Timolol, right? All are basically beta blocker, right? Very common metoprolol, right? Metoprolol. So where will we give? We'll give in the treatment of when there is angina pectoris. When you are suspecting that he could be having a heart attack, pectoralis, angina pectoris. Right? Whenever the heart is tired, so in case of heart failure, right? In case of heart failure, not the heartbreak, huh? So don't take this thing in heartbreak. It has got no use. Okay? Then atrial fibrillation, when the heart is flutter and fibrillation, right? We'll see these pathologies when we'll be dealing with cardiology. But when the heart goes at such a high pace that effectively it is not pumping the blood. Angina means pain, chest pain. Angina pectoris, you can consider that this is a stage just before the myocardial infarction, right? That when the heart is crying that I am having trouble, right? When the chest pain starts, but it is not actually the heart attack, right? It is not actually the heart attack. So many times they say mild attack. There is, as such, mild attack means it's like angina pectoris. But yes, if not properly taken care of, it can convert it to infarction. But in atrial fibrillation, heart goes like this. This fibrillates like this. So because it is not contracting fully, right, the amount of blood which is to be pushed out of the heart, that decreases, right? So even if it is contracting at a very high rate, contraction decreases, means the power decreases, so blood is not pushed up. So such fibrillation is practically injuring the heart. So in such cases, beta blocker is given so that it tells the heart, shant, right? Aram. Which beta receptors? They act on all of them, right? These are the, and then we'll be going for selective beta blockers, right? So right now, because we are just understanding that this is how they work, then when we'll be learning the beta blockers, right, it's a huge chapter, huge one. So then there'll be few beta blockers which will be super selective, right? And we'll be learning about it. But this is in nutshell. Okay, when we say that beta blocker is to be given in cardiac condition when we want to slow down the heart rate, bus. This you should understand. This is to slow down the heart rate. Heart rate, heart contractility, all those things are to be decreased, right? So that would be the purpose. So here it is, we talked about 4 types, right? Which was cholinergic, and now we are extending our list. Cholinergic, then adrenergic, then dopaminergic, and finally it was purinergic, right? These were the receptors. Yeah, sorbitrate, yes. So these receptors, they are main receptors, but apart from them there are few other receptors also spread across the whole body, and that fifth one which now we should talk about is GABA receptor, right? GABA is gamma amino butyric acid. Gamma amino butyric acid. Yes, see, as such, if the heart rate increases, right, the heart has got good capacity, right? If there is a fight, so then don't take the medicine and then go for the fight, right? You are strong enough to fight it out. But say beta blocker is also used to eliminate the stage fear. You know that? It is also used for stage fear. If someone is very much afraid to speak in front of the audience, and if the palms are sweating, legs are shaking, right? Heart is beating so fast, अरे इतने लोग मेरे मुझे देख रहे हैं, right? So when this beta blocker is taken, like that person will become cool. So many uses. But yeah, so in fight, so if heart rate increases, so it is a good thing, yeah. Anti-anxiety. So this GABA is gamma amino butyric acid, and this is a neurotransmitter which is released throughout the CNS, right? This is a neurotransmitter, and it is released everywhere. The important thing is it has got mainly inhibitory function, right? It has got inhibitory. But I would like to add like this, mainly inhibitory function. Right? So when it is released, we divide it into 2 parts, right? 2 types. One is GABA A, and second is obviously GABA B. GABA A will be affecting on ion channels. So the moment we say ion channels, we know now this, that okay, these channels are like this, through which ions can come and go, specific ions, right? So that is ion channels. The GABA B, right, that will lead to all right, the GPCR functions, right? So this is like a GPCR, G protein coupled receptor functions. So that is for the GABA B. One is acting on ion channels, right? One is acting on the GPCR. So that's about, say, GABA. Now, see the medicines. You know about Valium? Have you heard of? You must have heard of the Valium, right? That neend ki goli, simple, right? Benzodiazepines. So, say this is GABA effect of yesterday's match. So GABA A stimulator. Right? When the ion channels right? They are getting operated. GABA stimulator, benzodiazepines, right? That is like Sevalium, right? Or the barbiturates. Similarly, GABA B, GABA B, right? They are agonist. Agonist means which will be supporting, stimulating. So baclofen is a very common drug. Baclofen, right? Similarly, there would be antagonist, right, which will be inhibiting it, right? So that is what is called as the saclofen. So the point is that all the medicines, they are related to somewhere, they are sedative, somewhere they are related to all those receptors, because that's the whole purpose. Because this particular medicine will go at one particular point and will tell that receptor, okay, you do this, right? So that's how they are like switchboards. So how to turn that switch on or off, right? The sixth one, the sixth one. Essentiality of chemistry, that Valium and barbiturates, very true. Then say TSH. TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone, right? Which is from anterior pituitary, right? Anterior pituitary. And from anterior pituitary, say these are the receptors which are on the thyroid follicles, right? Thyroid follicular cells. Thyroid follicular cells, right? And that's where they will affect, right? So that's the reason that in case if there is anything, if anything goes wrong, and these receptors, right, if these receptors they are overstimulated, right, overstimulated, that will lead to what? Proliferation, right? Massive proliferation. So this will lead to massive growth or the proliferation of those cells, right? Follicular cells, and that is what will lead to adenoma, right? So cells or the follicular cells, and that will lead to, say, thyroid adenoma. Rest of the cells, say this is thyroid stimulating hormones. Similarly, you will find specific receptors which are for luteinizing hormone receptors. Luteinizing hormone, right? These are also GPCR, right? GPCR. So obviously, if luteinizing hormone, if this is affected, if anything goes wrong, so then it will lead to what's called as the precocious puberty, early menstruation, right? If this receptor is dysfunctional. So if it's dysfunctional, so that is what is called as the precocious, right? COCIOUS, precocious puberty. Just remember it that this is like early menstruation. That's what really happens, right? See, all are GPCR, but see where exactly are they located, right? And what they really do. See, one more very typical area, adrenocorticotropic hormone, right? These are the adrenocorticotropic hormone receptors. So, in if anything goes wrong to these receptors, right, that can lead to glucocorticoid deficiency, right? So, glucocorticoid deficiency. Now, this is just like a bird's view. What am really trying to emphasize is that these are the areas where they are spread across widely, right? Say this list, it keeps on going on and on, right? So for example, in our eyes, right, in our retina, we have got rods and cones, correct? Rods and cones. Yeah, growth hormone. Rods and cones. Rods, it is for night vision. I remembered it like R for Raat, right? R for Raat. Raat ko everything is black and white, right? So no colors, right? Cones, C for C, colors, right? C is for colors. So that means cones, they are for daylight vision, daylight vision. Rods, they are for night vision. So you don't have to cram. But these retina, in retina, they are present in these rods, right? They are present in rods. These, they are called as the rhodopsin receptors. So they are GPCR. They are GPCR. So when these genes, when these receptors are defective, it leads to retinitis pigmentosa. So see how at how many places you really see their presence, right? So this was what, 9, 10. Night blindness. Night blindness is as such slightly different. Thank you. Thank you. Acha. One very typical, which we have already talked about. If you remember, do you remember we talked about antidiuretic hormone, ADH, right? We said that it is also called as the vasopressin, right? We talked about it. Yeah. So neuropeptides. Now those neuropeptides, this is also GPCR. So we yesterday we wrote one sentence. Many of the drugs, or most of the drugs, they are affecting the GPCR. Now you know the reason, right? That they are spread across such a wide area, right? Rest of the receptors, they are super selective, but otherwise GPCR, so they are almost पूरे body में, right? They are छाए हुए हैं. So this is one more. That is when antidiuretic hormone, what is also called as the vasopressin, right? Vasopressin. Two types, right? GPCR, two types, V1, V2. Now, yes, some things I am going beyond, say, first MBBS, but that's okay. Just keep in mind, when you'll actually start learning pharmacology, you'll find that, yeah, itna easy. It is so easy. And obviously, we'll be learning, say, ADH, etc. in more detail. So it is good to know something extra, right? But this V1, V2, so it is very interesting. See what happens. Antidiuretic hormone, right? Just close your eyes. What exactly it does? D is diuresis. Diuresis means what? Could let the urine go, right? Let the urine go. A is anti. It tells you, no, 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 don't let the water go. Don't let the water go. Take it back, right? So this is synthesized in hypothalamus, right? In the brain, it is synthesized in hypothalamus, right? Then it is released from posterior pituitary, right? Posterior pituitary, it is released, right? And it comes into circulation. Now, only EDH is not effective. It is the receptor, V1 receptor. V1 is for vascular system, right? It is for vascular system. In vascular system, it will act as a vasoconstrictor, right? Because what is this is vasoconstrictor. Constrictor. Makes sense? Because antidiuretic hormone, his function is that don't let the water go out. So very smartly what it has done, the vessels which are going inside the Bowman's capsule, right? Bowman's capsule, and then they will go out. If the more blood is going inside, so obviously there will be more pressure and the water will be released, and when then water will try to run away. ये रास्ता ही बंद कर दो जाने का, right? Constrict them. So now less blood is going, so automatically the final effect would be that yes, controlled, right? Water is not going out because we are not even letting the source itself go, right? यहाँ से blood ही नहीं जाने देंगे, blood में से water will go out, so don't let the blood go, constrict those vessels, right? And then V2, these V2 receptors, they are on the last part of nephron, right? And the collecting ducts. So this is how the Bowman's capsule, right? This is proximal convoluted tubules, and then loop of Henle and distal convoluted tubules, and the collecting ducts, and finally they are getting collected, right? So it is V2 is present in this area. V2 is present in this area. So that final water which was trying to escape, even that water is taken back. Right? Constricted part is afferent nephron. Yeah. This, yes, afferent, right? Afferent. Efferent is exit. Afferent is आता हुआ, right? So it is afferent. That's right. This is constricted. This is affected. So constricted, right? I made it wide but constricted. So that is the vasoconstriction. And this last part of nephron, right, plus collecting ducts, they are constricted. They are told कि चलो take the water back, so the water is reabsorbed, right, out into the circulation. So if there is V2 mutant, this V2, if this V2 is mutant, means it if it goes wrong, right? V2 in distal convoluted tubules. That's right. That's right. This is the distal convoluted tubules and the collecting ducts. So DCT plus CD, collecting duct. Okay. So that is from where the water, even the last portion that is taken out, right, and the water is saved. But when it is not functioning, if V2 is not, so then it leads to what is called as the diabetes insipidus, right? It is called as diabetes insipidus, right? And this mutant, V2 mutant, it is very common with X-linked diabetes insipidus, right? So that is how say all of them, they really work. So one more, if you see that even in say oxytocin, right, even in oxytocin, and these are the receptors which you find say same GPCR receptors. No, loop of Henle not in this case, right? This is only picked up from the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct, right? So thus there is a huge list, and they keep on going. Say for example angiotensin 2, right? Angiotensin 2, there are receptors even for this angiotensin 2. There are two, angiotensin 1 and angiotensin 2, right? So something which is present, this is present in arteries, so that those arteries contract and relax. Is seen in Western countries and rare in India. Then say venous system. Right. These are the common areas where it is obtained. So tomorrow what we'll be doing is, say we talked about receptors, right? We talked about that there are various types of receptors. These receptors, they work in association with the protein, right? They are the proteins. And then there is always a ligand, which will make some changes. Till this point, we just said which will make some changes into the cell, right? Inside the cell, inside environment of the cell. That could be metabolism, that could be genomic expression, that could be opening, closing of some ion channels, etc. So in general, we talked about it. Tomorrow will be more specific, right? We'll start with the specific thing and we'll start with sodium potassium pumps, right? We'll start with sodium potassium pumps and then we'll take some clinical aspect. The foundation will remain same through and through till we complete this chapter or this topic of receptors. Will be more and more specific, right? So just go through all of them, all these topics, right? Today and yesterday's topic, and tomorrow we'll be going for these sodium potassium pumps. And then once we understand this, we'll be going for action potential, that how exactly that spark, first spark ki chalo contract, right? Why it happens that heart is never requiring any motivation, it is constantly beating by its own, right? What happens to the skeletal muscle, what happens to the smooth muscle, and what happens to the cardiac muscle. And then we'll also see this action potential, how it affects the nerve, right? This will give us the clarity that whatever we understood, whatever we studied, it has got a meaning, right? It has got a meaning, it is used at some point. So that's where after sodium potassium pump we'll see that what happens if there is increase in sodium or decrease in sodium or increase in say potassium or decrease in potassium, right? So that's where we'll understand the importance of it. The way you understood now, I hope all of you know about say osmolarity and all those say scenarios, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now you know about all of them, right? What happens when we add isotonic solution, what happens you add hypertonic solution, what happens when you add hypotonic solution, and same way when you remove it, correct? So bus with same thing, right? Tomorrow when we'll be taking the topics, as we'll proceed, we'll start incorporating even those previous topics also, right? So thus, when we'll be discussing any of the pathology, right, or when we'll be discussing any of the medicine part, medicine would be combination of all these knowledge. It would be like a combination, right, where you diagnose from sign symptoms and then you treatment, right? Supervision, definitely. Let's go for high speed revision. So here it is. We said that our receptors, right, they are biological changes in the cell, cholinergic, adrenergic, dopaminergic, and purinergic we talked about, and our focus today was say Q, right? Otherwise, rest are QISS, right? They have been discussed. So here it is GQ alpha 1 adrenergic receptor epinephrine, that is our ligand. It creates the stimulus inside, same method, same procedure. This is like GTP and the alpha Q. Alpha Q because it receives that 1 phosphate, and this beta and gamma, they are dark. Phospholipase C is activated, it acts on cell membrane and in the form of this PIP2 protein, that is phosphatidyl inositol 4,5 biphosphate. This is the protein which will lead to inositol triphosphate and the diacyl glycerol. This IP3 will act on ER, that is endoplasmic reticulum, which is storehouse of calcium, and that this storehouse of calcium, now the calcium is released in cytoplasm. There it attaches to calmodulin. In fact, it activates calmodulin. Calmodulin will stimulate the enzyme CAM kinase, and because this is kinase, so it has got the property of phosphorylation. Metabolism is increased, calcium ion channels open, genome changes, they can be registered. So this is about CAM kinase. However, the other one, that is diacylglycerol, it goes for protein kinase C. Protein kinase C is by of protein kinase A, right? So almost all of them things, their metabolism and genomic expression and ion channels, right? All pretty similar. So here it is adrenergic receptor GQ, GI, GS, 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 and this is like alpha 1, right? GQ, it is present in vascular smooth muscle, so it leads to vasoconstriction. Iris, it is dilated because this is contraction towards the wall. Internal urinary sphincter, that is contracted. Liver, glycogenolysis, increase glucose, and the kidneys, they inhibit renin release. Alpha 2, it goes to the pancreas and islet of Langerhans, right? It says decrease insulin, right? Glucose will stay in the blood because we want to fight. When it comes to beta receptors, things are different. This is GS, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. Beta 1, which acts on heart, right? It says increase contractility, the ability to contract, right? Heart rate increases, increase AV node conduction. Beta 2, they are in lungs, so it leads to bronchodilation, right? Bronchodilator. Smooth muscles, vasodilation. Smooth muscles of GIT, uterus, they are relaxed, right? They'll say, okay, right now we don't want to work. Pancreas will increase insulin. Adipose tissue increase lipolysis, right? Breakdown of fat. And it will also affect urinary bladder onto the detrusor muscles, and when they are relaxed, so it's the capability to hold more urine, it increases, right? Alpha 1 receptor blockers, this is like phentolamine is alpha 1 and alpha 2 both, right? This is the prazosin and terazosin, they are only alpha 1. Alpha 2 receptor blockers, alpha 2 blocker, that is yohimbine, right? Yohimbine. This was, I think, one of the question. Yohimbine, right? Alpha 2 receptors, selective alpha 2 receptors for the athletic performance, increase blood pressure, or it is used even in, say, erectile dysfunction, right? It is also used in, say, erectile dysfunction. Beta blocker, propranolol, ending with the olol, so propranolol, etinolol, timolol, right? Metoprolol, all of them. They slow down the heart rate and the heart contractility. So angina pectoris, heart failure, atrial fibrillation, these are the conditions in which it can be used. So cholinergic, adrenergic, dopaminergic, purinergic, these were the type of, say, receptors. We have got another one which is GABA, right? Gamma aminobutyric acid. This receptor, which is mainly inhibitory function, right? This is sort of neurotransmitter. So this GABA A, in presence of GABA A, channels would be open. GABA B, which is GPCR, right? Benzodiazepines, baclofen, seclofen, all examples of the medicine, right? Specifically. TSH, anti-pituitary, right? It goes to the thyroid follicles and then it leads to growth of it, right? When it is overstimulated, so there will be massive proliferation of cells of follicular types, right? This is what is called as the adenoma or the thyroid adenoma. Luteinizing hormone, if it is bad, precocious puberty, right? Very important. ACTH, that will affect glucocorticoid deficiency, right? And finally, this retina, in rods, we get the rhodopsin, right? This is rhodopsin, which affects the night vision, right? Neuropeptides, they are GPCR, ADH, vasopressin, and this is V1 and V2, both GPCR, but this is the V1 is the vascular system, leads to vasoconstriction. V2 is last part of nephron and collecting duct, right? That is where it will take care of the water which is brought back into the blood, right? But if there is any V2 mutant, that is what is called as the X-linked diabetes insipidus, right? Oxytocin, angiotensin, all are part of GPCR, right? So this is for today. Tomorrow we'll be going into more detail using the same concepts, right? So thank you so much, and we meet tomorrow same time. Thank you. Yes, it is present. It is present. Question. I got question. Yes. Oh, insulin shock. We'll definitely take when we'll be talking about diabetes. Huge topic. Huge topic. Yeah. All these things that will take in ophthalmology. What is night blindness and the color blindness? That is when the rods are affected or the cones are affected. Right. As such, it is pretty easy. Night vision, that is when the rods are affected. Right. Okay. So thank you so much, and we meet tomorrow. Bye bye.